How's it going, everybody? Stop Vegeta saying what is good to all my Super Saiyan homies, and I am here to do something kind of fun, kind of different, just because with, a lot of stuff going on right now, between work, some stuff going on with my family, and then, just general election anxiety, COVID anxiety, all that. I'm just not really in a great headspace to be doing Legends right now. I don't really want to be yelling at my phone, as I'm sure everybody at my house would also agree with. They don't want me yelling at my phone right now. So I decided to do something fun, something different. I have a couple console videos planned that'll be going up this weekend. I was just having a little bit of trouble with my capture software, so it is what it is. So we're going to do this instead. This is a fun little tier list ranking all the villains of Dragon Ball, just kind of as on how well they were written, in my opinion. These are not fact-based, this is not a definitive, this is the order of how great all the villains are. This is just my opinion, what they do for me, and I want this to be open for discussion. I want people to tell me what they think of all the different Dragon Ball villains. Please though, if you're gonna comment and discuss, let's not get rude about it. Let's not like, yo, are you stupid? Like, no. Just be nice about it. Let's have a civil discussion about it. That's what I would love to do. I'd love to talk about Dragon Ball villains with people. That was the whole point of creating this page. Discussing the franchise with other people in a civil manner. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into it. First off, we've got Vegeta. If you don't know me, it should be pretty obvious that Vegeta's going in the Z tier, even if you don't know me, just from my name alone. If you ask me, Vegeta probably... I think people have really forgotten that Vegeta was a villain, just because of how impactful he's been as a hero, or as a good guy, a Z fighter, anti-hero, whatever you want to call it. And I think that really makes him deserving of being in the Z tier. Him as a character, he has grown and developed so much. And even when he got here as a villain, he was just absolutely tyrannical. I mean, literally crushing every bone in Goku's body in the palms of his hands. Now, granted, he was an Ozaru at that point, but still, that is a very impressive feat. Granted, he is the only villain that Yajirobe did a supple amount, or an ample amount of damage to, but still. I think he deserves place there. Next up, we've got Tien's Shinhan. I'm putting Tien in B. If I'm being perfectly honest, I kind of wanted to put him a bit higher, because I love the Tien Master Shen arc in the original Dragon Ball. And I really want that little headbutt boosted, or that Kamehameha boosted headbutt Goku does onto him at the end when they're up in the air. I really want that to be an LF in Legends. So, I don't know, I'm putting him there. I would like to put him higher. But in terms of like the original Dragon Ball villains, there were more impactful ones, or there were better ones. So he's really just going up there out of my pure love for the character. Plus, you then get the rematch in the Piccolo Jr. arc, which was a lot of fun to see. You see, it's kind of when you first start seeing like Goku grown up, really doing his thing. So yeah, it's going in B tier. I think it's fair. Next, we've got Pilaf. I should be putting Pilaf. I should be giving Pilaf a little more credit. But note that I don't have an F tier. I only have a D tier. They're not bad. They're just not better than the rest. And I think that is fair for Pilaf. You have to give some credit where credit is due for Pilaf. The Pilaf gang really kind of put the wheels in motion for Dragon Ball, and so I should give more credit, but I think this is fair. I don't think Pilaf deserves to be any higher. I don't think anybody's going to be losing sleep over that. Next up, I've got Beerus. Beerus is going into A tier for me. Beerus starts off the Super era and could be argued ends off the Z era, because Battle of the Gods, if I'm not mistaken, was DBZ Battle of the Gods, not Dragon Ball Super Battle of Gods. So, I don't know. Beerus was really cool when he first showed up. I mean, he's still really cool. But like the whole idea of like this angry god whose literally only intention is to destroy things every few hundred years, and is then looking for the Super Saiyan god. It introduced us to God Ki. It introduced, I don't know. It just really brought things to a new level, like a really ascended level for Dragon Ball. And while some could argue that it really only benefited the likes of Goku and Vegeta, I would argue that it was cool just kind of in general and overall. And while we don't really see any payoff until the Tournament of Power, you still see in the Universe 6 tournament that, you know, Piccolo still had some use and whatnot. You know, you still have characters that have some use, but the fact that we were able to kind of steer into this tremendous godly power, I don't know, it's very cool to me. Next up, we've got Raditz. Raditz, I'm personally putting in the S tier. I don't think Raditz gets enough credit as a villain. Raditz really set the wheels in motion for Z, as well as introducing the idea of Goku being a Saiyan. And that drastically changed the direction of Dragon Ball. Say what you will, Z is so drastically different from OG Dragon Ball, it's not even funny. The characters are similar, but the tone change, the goals of the characters, the motivations of the characters is drastically different from A to B. And that tone shift doesn't really begin until Raditz shows up and brings up the idea of being a Saiyan. Plus, I think it's one thing that's kind of cool to acknowledge is Piccolo's special beam cannon only killed Goku because of how strong Raditz was. He was so powerful that the only way to take him out was to take out Goku with it. And I don't know, I think that's pretty cool to say. And while he very quickly got power crept, there were a lot stronger villains that came immediately after. It was very cool to kind of see that wall that legitimately was unovercomable. And yes, you know, Tien beat him in the finals by a narrow margin. There were times in OG Dragon Ball where he gets his tuchus handed to him. But in terms of Z, this was like the first life, or in terms of Raditz, this is the first like life or death moment we really get for Goku. So yeah, that's where he's going. He's going in S. Next we got Bandit Yamcha. Bandit Yamcha is also going in D tier. I don't really need to say anything else on that. It's not like he's bad or anything, but it's Yamcha. Let's be real here. Next up, we've got Mercenary Tao. Mercenary Tao, I am putting in the B tier. I'm including Mercenary Tao, General / Commander Red. I don't know. The Red Ribbon Army, I think it's safe to say, is the most impactful arc from the original Dragon Ball Saga. I'm not saying the most memorable, the most impactful, because you do get the androids out of it, you get Cell out of it. There's just so much that comes out of the Red Ribbon Army. And I don't even know if it was intentional. I think it was just kind of an accidental occurrence. But with that being said, it is a really memorable arc from Dragon Ball to begin with. I would probably say the second most memorable arc. Only that to Demon King Piccolo. But I think it's pretty fair to put it here. Next up, I've got Hit. This is where my controversial opinions start. I don't think Hit deserves to be any higher than C tier. If you ask me, as much as I love Hit and as cool as he really was just a never-ending wall to overcome for Goku. And I think for me, it just kind of felt like he showed up. Goku was able to surpass him. He was able to surpass Goku. Goku was able to surpass him. He was able to surpass Goku. And it was just a never-ending cycle of almost boredom, IMO. So I don't think he deserves to be any higher than that. But that's where he's going to go. Next up, I've got the androids. I am including the androids because they do have their own saga, technically. While they are not technically a main villain, you could really say that Cell is the main villain for that arc. I think they deserve to be here. They were pretty crazy when they first showed up. You know, they just kind of wrecked anything and everything. And in theory, you know, they do kill all the Z fighters in the future. minus Goku via heart failure. But that's pretty crazy. And even once, you know, they kind of start preparing for them, they still do a pretty ample amount of damage to the Z Fighters. You know, I mean, Vegeta's arm has never recovered from that kick by Android 18. I mean, look at every arc after. He grabs that exact same arm in the exact same spot. So she did some permanent damage to my mans. Like, let's be real here. Next up, I have Moro and Cell. I'm gonna put Cell first on the list. Cell I'm putting in Z. I would argue that Cell is the best written anime or villain in all of Dragon Ball. You got the death of Goku, you have the peak of Gohan, he has all the different abilities of the Z Fighters, you know, ranging from having Super Saiyan cells to the regeneration of Piccolo. I mean, all the different forms and absorption and everything like that. You know, you've got Vegeta's pride and letting him be absorbed, even though he probably could have gotten the win on Semi-Perfect Cell. I don't know, man. I don't really think there's any writing that tops Cell, if you ask me. So I think he deserves to be up there. Next up, I've got Moro. Moro I'm putting in the A tier. Come on. No, not the S tier. The sad thing is, I wish I could put Moro in S or Z, because prior to the last few chapters, I probably would have put him in S or Z. But I think with all these similarities and parallels to Cell, he really stopped being a unique and original character. You know, he had all those magic abilities. He had the planet absorption. He was really just ruthless. I mean, killing Cranberry once he got his wish back. Having all his henchmen just beefing them up until they were literally on the verge of death. You know, and then absorbing them himself for his own selfish needs. Moro is so evil and tyrannical that I want to put him higher. He was so well written to start, but all these parallels to Cell now with absorbing 7-3 and throwing the Senzu and almost blowing himself up to take the Earth with him, I don't know. I have to kind of pull away at him being higher than A, just because of that, because the writing is no longer original. And so while I still want to give a lot of credit, A tier I think is the highest I can comfortably put him. Next up, I've got Boo. Now, I don't think this one is necessarily controversial. I have Boo in C tier. I think it's pretty safe to say that a lot of people would agree that the Boo saga was all over the place. Really, really all over the place. And while we got a lot of cool things out of it, we got Super Saiyan 3, we got Fusion, we got, and both fusions for that matter, the dance, Katara, we got Majin Vegeta. There are so many great things about this arc. And yet, Boo himself as a villain is pretty lackluster. And I say this with love, considering that Boo is personally my favorite villain. But in terms of how he's written, he really was kind of all over the place, and it's kind of hard to get a read on what he's supposed to be doing or what he is. And then, you know, you move on to Super and find he's the Lord of Lords and whatnot. He's just kind of all over the place. So I just think because of how sporadic the character is and how iffy the details are, like the whole who's stronger Buhan versus Kid Buu debate is really, I mean, yes, it's been clarified over the years, but like, there's not a lot of clarity with all that. So he's going in C tier. I don't think he deserves to be any higher. That's that on that. Next up, we've got Demon King Piccolo. Demon King Piccolo, I'm putting in S tier because if you ask me, it's probably the most memorable of the. Probably the most memorable of the original Dragon Ball sagas. So I think he deserves to be there. I think it's pretty fair. You also then get Piccolo out of it, so you get the Piccolo Jr. saga and whatnot. And I am kind of lumping the two of them together. I am kind of lumping Piccolo Jr. and Demon King Piccolo together, just because, I mean, technically, Piccolo Jr., or also known as our Piccolo, the Piccolo we know and love from DBZ, they're supposed to be, he's supposed to be a reincarnation, not like the child of. So I'm kind of lumping the two of them together. And, you know, he just becomes... yeah, no, I'm not going to go into any more explanation. I think that's very much fair. It's easily the most memorable arc. We get one of the most loyal characters to the Z Fighters. I don't think I need any more justification. Next up, I'm going to do Goku Black before I do Jiren. Because Jiren's a bit of a hot take. Goku Black slash Zamasu, I'm putting up an S tier. And I say that because while they're easily the best villains from Super, there were a few flaws, and it could have been better. Like the one thing I personally wish they steered into, Masako X made a really good point that if you want to be honest here, Zamasu may have not been completely wrong in everything he thought, and instead all the gods are completely on the sides of the humans, when in reality Beerus is supposed to be indifferent to all these things, and yet still ends up siding with the humans, or the Earthlings, the mortals, whatever you want to call them, because you have the Saiyans, the hybrid Saiyans, the humans, doesn't matter. So, I don't know, I wish that was a skid that they leaned into a bit more, and, you know, you kind of had the gods being like, yeah, no, don't interfere a little bit more, but, you know, then you wouldn't have gotten Vegito Blue, because, you know, Supreme Kai wouldn't have given them the Potara and everything like that, but still, there was some stuff they could have leaned into that they didn't. I'm also gonna do Frieza before I do Jiren, because my Jiren opinion is a hot take. Frieza, I'm putting up in Z tier. Everybody, I think, when they think Dragon Ball villains, thinks Frieza. So, I think it's pretty fair to put in there. That's it. I don't really have any other things to add. He's been the most iconic villain, I think, since the Namek Saga. He was such an extreme evil built up, and then to see him just be so long-lasting, and to even remain evil after technically helping out the Z Fighters in the Tournament of Power, I don't know. I think he's great. I don't think he deserves to be any lower than this, and I think a lot of people will agree with me on that. Last up, Jiren. This is a hot take. Jiren's going in C tier. If you ask me, Jiren was not a good villain. He was not an interesting character at all whatsoever. He was just really fucking strong. And while it made for a cool fight, and while it was cool to watch, in terms of being interested in him as a character, didn't care for him. A lot of people like to say that there was mystery behind him because we didn't know a lot about him. He was all quiet and meditative, but if you ask me, it just makes him boring. He was just this mysterious wall that Goku had to fight at some point, and even when he was less of a mystery, his motivations were okay. They were alright, I guess. Yes, his whole... He didn't want to see his people get hurt again, but, like, I don't know. There was a lot more that could have been. So that's it. That's my tier list. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys feel differently about stuff. And we will talk about it another time, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.